Hello guys, today we're gonna talk about scouts. This is Trophy Manager Tips and here I am with one more video. My name is Alan and I hope you guys are doing fine. In past videos, we talked about youth academy, training density, bloom types, skill picks, and potential of youths. The videos where we talk about it are this one, yeah, these three. This one has just been posted. Okay, so in case you need to go back here, I also put some cards here on the right side of the screen. Then you can check them out. In order for you to get the best out of the content I'm going to show to you in this video, you should make sure that you understand all the concepts that I talked about in those videos. Okay? If you didn't watch the videos, or if you watched but the content is not so clear to you, go back there and watch it fully before you continue this one. Otherwise, if you don't go back and you don't understand properly, you may be confused with what I'm going to explain here. Okay? In case you're still here, I'm assuming you understand the content of the previous videos. To start, let's go to this is my club page. So let's go to the scouts page. You can find here. These are my scouts. As you can see, I have quite some, but I had many more in the past. A lot of them retired. This is the first thing I would like to tell you guys. It's a bad thing about scouts that they retire. When they reach the age of 70, they retire. I'm not sure if they reach the age of 70, then they work for one more season and then retire, or if they retire as soon as they complete 70 years old. I believe they retire as soon as they complete 70 because I don't have any 70-year-old scout. Yeah. But anyway, it doesn't matter so much. It's not so important. Just like for the players, the scouts have their skills going from 1 to 20. Here you can see how much each scout has in each skill. Okay. Each skill of this gives the scout the ability to tell you some aspects about the player. Okay. I would advise you to only use scouts who have 20 in the skill you are analyzing. For example, this one has 20 in development. If I want to see the development of a player, I can trust this scout. But if I want to know the physical pick, no, it's not good for that. Okay? Some people use 19. You can use. I don't advise because they can make mistakes. Even the 20 can make slight mistakes. If you take the 19, for example, the chances increase. If it's lower than that, your report is practically random. You cannot trust at all. Understand? So, for example, if I have a scout like this, I will trust him for the tactical pick. But for the technical pick, no. If I don't have any other available and I really need to know, I can trust, but I have to consider that he may be wrong, slightly wrong. Understand? So you can see that most of my scouts they have 20 something. So I only use the 20 skills they have. This one, for example, I don't use for this, or for this, or for this. Understand? Okay. Now let's analyze each of the skills. These three here in the middle, the scouts tell you about the picks of the player: physical pick, tactical pick, and technical pick. Okay, the evaluations the scout give they go from 1 to 4. If the player is level 1, the 1 is the worst and 4 is the best. If the player has, for example, tactical pick 1, they will say it's a poor. It's poor in this area. Poor. If it's level 2, they will say it's okay. If it's level 3, they will say good. And if it's level 4, they will say splendid. Okay? You will better understand these names and numbers once I open a profile of a player. Then you can better understand. But first I have to give this theoretical explanation. Regarding the physical peak, instead of saying poor for level 1, they will say somewhat weak. Somewhat weak. Okay? Yeah, just memorize this for now. There are 4 levels and each level has a name. Then we have the psychological skill. This skill, for example, this one has good one and this one too. With this skill, the scout tells about the psychological behavior of the player. He evaluates the leadership, the professionalism, and the aggressiveness. This time they have five levels to evaluate. It goes from 1 to 5 again. Regarding the professionalism and the leadership, the, the scout can say if it's level 1, they will say bad, level 2, low special, level 3, okay, level 4, good, and level 5, suburb. Okay, the higher the better. For aggressiveness, then it's not necessarily you can say the highest, the worst, depending maybe depending the position. It's better to have an aggressive player, but it's a defender, maybe not that good. So I can say this time that the higher the better, or the higher the worse. But for aggressiveness, they will evaluate. If it's one, they will say not aggressive. Two, not particularly aggressive. Three, somewhat aggressive. Four, slightly aggressive. And five, alarmingly aggressive. Okay? Again, don't need to memorize this. You get used to it once you play and you scout many players. You don't need to worry. And later I will show you some examples. Then you'll see, understand exactly what I'm saying. It seems complicated, but it's simple. Okay? Later, I'm gonna tell why these skills can be useful. For example, when you choose your captain, the psychological aspect may be important, but I'm going to talk about it when I'm in the tactics part. Okay. Then we have other skill, which is development. This is to evaluate bloom status, the development of the player. If there are five possibilities, when they scout check a player, they can say that the player is not bloomed, is starting to bloom, it's in the middle of the bloom, or it's in his late bloom, or it's bloomed already. As you remember from the previous videos, I said that the player has a 3-year period of bloom. So when they start in bloom, it means it's the first year of bloom. If it's in the middle of the bloom, it's the second year. And if in his late bloom, it's the third year of the bloom. If the player is bloomed, it means that the bloom has been over already. And if it's not bloomed, it's because the bloom hasn't started yet. Okay? If the scout says that the bloom has not started, he says not bloomed, then in front of the not bloom there will be normal bloomer, early bloomer, or late bloomer. Okay? I explained these things in the previous videos, so I will not repeat again. So yeah, that's basically what this skill makes the scout able to tell. Okay? If it's confusing, I know there are a lot of names. You can put in the comments the questions and I will clarify. Okay? And finally, we have the last one, which is the potential of the player. These two skills here. They will say the potential of the player. Remember in previous videos when we checked the scout of the player, we saw the potential, the recommendation. So these are the skills the scout needs to have to for us to trust him about that evaluation. So he will evaluate the player in potential from 1 to 20 and in recommendation from 1 to 5. It's the level the player can reach. Okay? If you want to evaluate a player who is 19.11 at most years old, then you use these youths. Okay? If the player is 20 or older, then the scouting this skill, senior. Okay? For example, if I send this scout to evaluate an 18-year-old player, he's not good for the potential. He may give me a bad report. Understand? But for a player older than 20, he's good. Okay? With this one, is the opposite. He's good for under 20, but not good for over 20. Understand? For your evaluation, your report to be reliable, in this case of the potential, it's also important that the scout has 20 in development too. Okay? So if the scout has 20 in development and 20 in the senior or the youth, according to the age you want the player, then you can trust the report. But as I told you previously, the potential change. So you can trust at that moment, but later the player may increase or decrease the potential. Okay? And for the potential is also something so unsure that even for scouts that have 20 here and 20 here, they can miss by 1 point in the potential. This is why I said before that I send 3 scouts whenever I can, remember? Okay, so that's it. If the scout has 20 here and doesn't have 20 here, you can use, but it's totally not reliable. They will miss more often. Okay, for example, this scout, he has 20 here, 20 here. If I use him, he may miss 1 point for more or for less, but most of the time he will give me the right answer. But if I take, for example, this one, he has 20 here but doesn't have 20 here, then he will give me the right answer sometimes, but not so often as this one, okay? Because think with me, if the scout thinks this guy is starting the bloom, he will give one potential. But if he considers that this guy is in the middle of the bloom, he will change the potential. Understand? So that's why these scouts who don't have development high are not reliable. If you're going to use that, if for some reason you don't have a scout with development, you should send 3 or 4 or 5 so you can take like the average. Understand? It's very risky to use 1 or 2 only. If they are not reliable, you may think, then why do I have them? Why did I hire them if they are not so reliable? Later I'll tell you the reason. Okay? So now let's see, let's check a player. Then we can better understand all of these names and numbers I told you. Okay? Let me choose, can be this one. Okay, this is a player I promoted from my youth development. See, his whole career has been here. So let's go to his scout report. Then there will be some unknown scouts. They have retired already. I'm not gonna consider them, for example, because I cannot check who they are. Most of them. Okay, let's take one here. This one. Marcel Albuquerque. What can he tell me about? I don't know. I could check him here, but it's faster if I just go up here and find him. Here. He has 20 in youth and 20 in development, so he can tell me the potential and the bloom status of the player. When this player was 19 years old, I sent this guy, Marcel Albuquerque, and then he told me the, that his potential was 19 and his bloom status was starting to bloom. Okay? Yeah. The other ones are all unknown. So let's just check the names. Okay? Here you're not checking if these evaluations are good or bad because you don't know the scout. Okay? For example, if I knew it was this scout, Danilo Machado, I could say, okay, I can trust the physics speak and the tactic speak. Tactic speak. Okay? But since I don't know the scout, I cannot say whether the scout can say that or not. But I just want to show you guys how a report looks like. For example, in this report, the scout said it was good. He was good for physics. So it means his physics peak is level 3. Okay? So he can be very good in physics skills. In tactical, he was considered good too by the scout, level 3, but in technical, poor, level 1. Since he's a defender, no big deal, but depending on his position, I would need a better pick in technical, okay? Okay, this is more gonna talk more when I'm in training, then I can evaluate which pick is better or worse for one position. Now we are focusing on scouts, okay? This other scout said that his pick for physics was splendid, so level 4. Okay, see how they give different results? This other one, good technical. This other one, they give technical okay, which means 2, level 2. Okay. About the psychological skills, this one gave bad, so level 1, see, 1 out of 5 for leadership. This one said bad for professionalism too. And this one said level 4 for aggressiveness, which is not good for a defender. Okay, this one said even worse, alarmingly aggressive. Okay, I don't know which one is giving the good answers because I don't know the scouts. Okay, but here I'm just showing you how a report is like. This other one said he's somewhat aggressive. So see, 3 different scouts, they gave 3 completely different results. This one gave level 3, this one level 4, and this one level 5. So that's why you should pick good scouts to use in each skills. Understand? Now let me show you something that it's when a player makes the evaluation of the scout completely meaningless. Like when you deal with top players, very good players. Like I have only one. Let me find him. Yeah, this one. Let me see his scout report. Let me see. For example, I think this guy. Let's see what this guy is able to tell. This one. He can tell me the physics and the technical. Okay. So let me go. He said that his physics was somewhat weak, so one, and his technical was poor, so one. So his skills in there should be very low, right? But look at his skills. This is the technical, extremely high. This is the technical. So it's completely against what the scout said. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, tactical, but the scout didn't say anything about tactical. The scout said about physical, which is even worse, see? So what can I tell? Is the scout bad? Actually, no. That scout is reliable. The thing is that this is a top player. See, he's an NT player. For this type of player, players who are very good, they have very high potential, sometimes they go over the evaluation of the scout because they have such a high intensity TI that the scouts give them a bad pick, but they don't have what to do. They have a high TI, so they have to put the skill somewhere. So they go over what the scout says. Understand? I don't know if it was the best explanation, but basically, top players can go over the scouts evaluation. But it's risky. It's risky for you to invest in a player like this. For example, if you send a scout and the scout said he has bad picks, and you say, "Oh no, but he's a top player, so I invest the money in him because it's gonna be worth it. He's gonna go over the evaluation of the scout." It can work, and you can make a lot of money, or it may not work and you can lose a lot of money, as I did in the past. Let me show you. Remember in one of the videos before I told you about my worst deal with this guy? Look, I paid more than 1 billion. I'll tell you what happened. If I come to his scouts report, I have, let's say, this guy. Let's see what he can tell me. Here he is. So he can tell me about the tactics and the technical. The tactics was the problem. Tactical pick. He's 20, okay? And he told me the guy had, okay, only two tactical. It's not good enough for a defender. Can be good sometimes, but if you want to have a top defender, okay, tactical will not be enough. But then other of my scouts who was reliable too told me that he had a very high potential. And I said, okay, he has a very high potential. He will go over this evaluation, right? And his skill were very good, well designed. So I thought it can go wrong. But then I bought the player, I paid 1 billion. The time went by, I trained him, and as you can see, he has not good tactical skills. If you put him to play on the second division, maybe he will do a good job. But I paid 1 billion for this player, so I expected him to be in a national team level. Understand? And it didn't work out. So if you take the risk of not trusting the scouts, sometimes it can go very wrong, like it happened to me here. Okay, so I would advise you to not bet on it, to have a bad scout evaluation and take the risk of buying the player. Okay, can make you give you a lot of money, or it can make you lose a lot of money too. Now to end the video, this video is quite long already. Let me explain you why I have players like this without development high, since I said they are not reliable, right? I do it. I wouldn't like to do it. I would prefer not to have such scouts. But the reality is that the market for scouts is not good. It's very hard to find scouts like this, 2020. And I need to scout players. So I end up having to go to these ones. Like for example, now I have none. See? So I'm forced to buy a scout like this. Then I buy 3 or 4 like this to send to be valid for one. And I buy scouts only with development. Then I can somehow combine the reports and make some decisions about it. Understand? So that's the reason. But for you guys who are starting out, tell you not to buy these scouts because as I'm telling you, I have to send 3, 4 to make it reasonably reliable. You shouldn't buy so many scouts at the beginning. Then try to buy the 2020 ones. Okay? If after a long time you don't have them, you don't find them in the market, then you may try one like this, only 20 in one skill. Understand? But no, be aware of the risks. Okay? And for the scouts, for physics, tactics, techniques, technical, if you are starting out, you don't need this kind of scout at all. This kind of scout is for people who buy youths all the time, who are training them. If you don't do that, you just need a scout for youths, preferably if you have youths and development 20, you need one like this to check your youths. And you may have one with senior and development 2022 because maybe you promote a guy at 20 years old, your scout for youth will not be able to evaluate. Then you need one for senior. Okay. So at the beginning, I think you should look for one with youth, one with senior, 2 scouts. Okay. Keep watching. Whenever you see good ones in the market like this, senior, youth, development, you buy because later you're gonna need. But for the other ones, with tactical, technical, physical, psychological, maybe if you wanna check the defender if they're not so aggressive, right? Yeah, maybe psychological you can use too. Okay. Well, scouts are more determinant for people who train youths, like me. I have many because I need them all the time. Okay. Actually, I need more than what I have now. Okay. The video got long. Unfortunately, I'm trying not to make long videos, but it was hard to comprise this explanation too much. Okay. I hope you understand. If you have questions, let me know in the comments. Okay. That's all for this video, guys. If you have any comments or questions about the video, please write in the comment section below. If you have doubts about any aspect of the game, write it down as well, and I'll do my best to help you out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.